Tennis, it was interesting because when I'm thinking back about my experience getting into sports, the sport that I really did, I did a few sports, but the one that I really competed well in was in track and field. I was extremely fast when I was young, and I was actually competing with kids like 4 or 5 years older than me, and I was doing very well. I would be like 8 or 9, and I would be doing 14 and under. And I would break records, I would dominate, and it was fun. I enjoyed doing it. I was getting a lot of medals every meet I went to, and it's an easy sport to play in India. You don't need to have a real coach, or although I did have someone to help me out.
Well, talent and being gifted, it's something that gives you an advantage in your journey. So it's like getting a head start. You're so talented carrying this, you got a head start, but it doesn't get you to the finish line. So if you don't add work ethic, discipline, and growth mindset to that talent, then all you've got is a very scary word, which is called potential.
Today on Conductive Conversations, Carey Lai sits down with two leaders who mastered their craft on the tennis court. Carey discusses lessons in life and business with Juan Jaysingh and Martin Blackman. Juan is the CEO of Zingtree.
Zingtree is the first deterministic agentic AI platform for complex CS.
He began playing tennis around the age of 10 in India and went all in on the sport after immigrating to the United States at 14. He was recruited by Martin Blackman, then the head coach at American University, who described Juan as special, hungry. Today, Juan emphasizes the importance of being capital efficient in business, a mindset deeply shaped by his experiences in tennis and life. Martin Blackman is a former professional tennis player and the current CEO of the Junior Tennis Champion Center. Born in New York, he moved to Barbados in 1972. His family's interest in tennis began in 1975 after listening to the Wimbledon Championships finals on BBC Radio between Arthur Ashe and Jimmy Connors.
Another golden moment of Wimbledon.
This episode is packed with value, insight, motivation, and plenty of fun moments filled with shared humor. It's a must-listen for tennis players, startup founders, coaches, and mentors. Let's dive into the conversation.
All right, let's get started. All right, so first question for you, Juan. You immigrated to the US at 14. What did those first months look like? And what did tennis give you that school or life couldn't?
So the first few months in America was very interesting because I hadn't really traveled the world much. So it was the first time when I came to this part of the world, the western side of the world. And, I think a few things stood out, as a 14-year-old kid. Things that are important to me now, may not have seemed important back then. But I think the first thing was I didn't know how to open a car to get into an American car. So I was trying to figure out.
You didn't have handles?
Well, I think the handles were a little bit different in India. So, there was the family that picked me up here, who I didn't know, had a Mercedes.
Wow.
So but it was an older Mercedes, but still, it's a Mercedes, yeah. And I didn't know anything, and I didn't know it was a Mercedes. I didn't know what a Mercedes was, but so I was trying to, it took me like a couple minutes trying to figure out how to open the car, but I didn't want to ask for help. I tried to figure it out on my own. So it's kind of a little bit of an embarrassing moment. It's like, hey, do you know how to open the car? And I was like, yeah. So things like that, I came across a lot when I first moved here.
Sorry to interrupt, but did you speak English when you came? How was your English? Your English was good?
Yeah,
okay, good.
Because in India, most people speak English.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, I had a heavy Indian accent, so it was, all good, but I was
heavier than today, or about the same?
About the same.
Okay.
Thanks, Carey.
It's an honest question.
It's a good thing these days if you have that.
Hey, I'm just asking. It was just a question. Just curious.
I think that stood out to me, just like how things are different here. From how cars operate. Now I stayed in a basement. I was like, what is this? And I kept hearing people walking, upstairs. So those things kept me up sometimes. Stores, I've never seen stores so big, so I ended up spending a lot of time. You're like this at stores like Giant or Safeway, especially in the candy aisle.
Yeah, especially in the candy section.
Because I've never seen so much candy in one place, so I would literally go in there and spend not a few minutes, but maybe almost 15, 20, 30 minutes just walking around those aisles and checking out what's there. spending a lot of time.
And
on
you
the
still
candy
like
aisle.
sweets still?
It's weird. Like even now when I go to a store, I have to walk by the candy aisle. Even if I'm not getting candy, a lot of times I do. But
I love that. I love going to other countries' supermarkets.
Okay,
So
yeah.
if
always
Juan
different,
goes
yeah.
to the candy, what aisle would you go to? Martin?
Gosh, I like fruits and I like to like fruits and natural stuff, like to
Yeah.
see what's different in different countries. That's what I loved about traveling on the tour.
Yeah.
You know, every country, cuisine, smells, fruits.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably that.
Fruits for me.
Yeah.
Because, there's so many fruits that are so different outside of North America.
Absolutely.
Than like apples and oranges and, all the common bananas.
Absolutely.
Common stuff,
Yeah, Juwan wasn't a big fruit and vegetable guy though.
Apparently not.
We tried to change that later.
I know.
Yeah.
The worst is, when we would play, when I played for Martin on the team and we'd stop even at a gas station, I would go through the small candy aisle in the gas station, get some candy, and Martin would make me empty that pocket and give it to the rest of the teammates. It was brutal.
I love that.
Even when I was the fastest guy on the team, so I was getting very offended. But he was looking out for me.
He's looking out for your A1C.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So those kinds of cultural differences I was able to kind of recognize when I first moved here. But in general, it was a very positive experience. From where I came from to where I was. I had a great experience in India as well. I had loving parents and strong faith-based background, so I had a good, strong foundation. But I didn't have all the opportunities that I was able to recognize when I was in India, so that kept me really happy. Yeah. And then to transition to your second question was how did I connect? How did tennis come into the picture to help me with with my life? Mainly, one of the big things was tennis was a vehicle. I wanted to play pro.
Right.
That was always a vision and passion of mine. I love tennis, but there were a lot of great people that I connected with, Martin being one, that helped me understand that tennis is a vehicle to get an education. Right? And I couldn't afford to get an education without a scholarship. And tennis laid the foundation for that.
But why tennis? Why not basketball or ping pong?
Well, you've seen how tall I am, Carey. Right, you're always making fun of me wearing Hoka shoes. Trying to get a few inches in. So yeah, no. So tennis, it was interesting because when I'm thinking back about my experience getting into sports, the sport that I really did, I did a few sports, but the one that I really competed well in was in track and field.
Right, sure.
I was extremely fast when I was young.
Very fast.
And I was actually competing with kids like 4 or 5 years older than me, and I was doing very well. I would be like 8 or 9, and I would be doing 14 and under. And I would break records, I would dominate. And it was fun. I enjoyed doing it. I was getting a lot of medals every meet I went to. And it's an easy sport to play in India.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a real coach or, although I did have someone to help me out. But it's also cost efficient. You just need to shoot and run. And so it was great for me. However, it was kind of weird. I got introduced to tennis through someone at school who played it, and then also the headmaster of the school that I went to loved playing tennis. And so I kind of got into it through that. And I really liked it because one, I wasn't obviously that good when I first got started, but it was a great challenge, and I liked that.
And you picked it up at 14?
I started playing tennis around 10.
Okay.
Yeah, so
India?
In India, yeah.
Got it.
So I was doing a lot of track between the age of 8 to 12, 13, and then eventually stopped competing. But I went all in with tennis around that time. Around the time when I was, when I left India and came to the U.S.
And then, Martin, what's your tennis background? How did you come to tennis?
Yeah, so I came to tennis through my family. I was born in New York, but we moved to Barbados in '72. I was born in New York when my dad was finishing his PhD at Columbia, and then he got a job back in Barbados, so our whole family moved back. And I remember vividly in 1975, we were listening to the Wimbledon finals on BBC Radio. Didn't have it on TV back then. And we listened to the broadcast of Arthur Ashe beating Jimmy Connors in the finals, 4-set match.
Wow.
And after that, my family had the bug. My parents had the bug. And they got my brothers, who were 10 years older, into tennis and started playing tennis more. And my brothers started coaching me. So when I was about 7, my brother started coaching me, 5, 6, 7. And gradually I got better. They were much better than me, so being able to play with them was always good. And then we also spent our summers in New York. And back in 1980, 81, 82, there was a great tennis academy in Port Washington, Long Island, called the Port Washington Tennis Academy.
There.
Yeah. And John McEnroe, Vitas Gerulaitis developed there. And so my mom heard about it and she said, you know, they're having tryouts for the summer program. I'm going to take you. So we went there like early June 1980. I was 10 years old. We tried out. After the tryouts, the coach came to us and said, hey, congratulations, Martin made the summer program. Gave my mom the price sheet for the program. And my mom said, thank you so much. We had a great time, but we can't afford it. If anything changes, we'll come back. And so we're walking down the stairs. And then he came back again and tapped my mom on the shoulder and said, I spoke to the owner of the program and we're going to give Martin a scholarship.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And that pretty much changed the trajectory of my tennis life, is having those 3 summers at a great program. First time I was ever really in a structured program. And I was able to take the gains back to Barbados, even between like, you know, September and May. I was able to keep that going.
Was it hard?
It was hard, but I was so motivated. Like at the end of every summer, my greatest fear was that I would go home and fall back. And I was like, that is not gonna happen. And so I was able to keep my level there and really take advantage of that opportunity. And then when I was 12, I lost in the finals of the Orange Bowl to a guy who's still a great friend, David Cass. And after the match, David was training at Bollettieri's. After the match, Nick came to me and my mom and said, I want to offer Martin a scholarship to my academy. So every step, every level up in my life and career, obviously beginning with the sacrifices and the opportunities my parents gave me, but every time someone has given me an opportunity, opened a door that I was not able to because of finances. It's been amazing. So first it's Port Washington, then it's Nick Bollettieri. I had an amazing coach for Junior Davis Cup, a gentleman called Coach Patton, who taught me more about being a good person and a man than even being a tennis player. Then Coach Gould at Stanford. And yeah, mentors, so important. Mentors and people giving you opportunity, opening doors. And that's why I think for both me and Juan and you, Carey, is when we have an opportunity to help somebody, we do. Yeah.
What do you think you take away? Because you're a junior national champ.
Yeah.
Obviously, member of the Stanford team under Coach Gould, ATP Pro, and then coach. What do you think you carry from each chapter of
each segment? Well, I think I would kind of divide my life in the pro career and the end of my pro career. I would say up until that point, I succeeded in everything I did, tennis-wise.
Yeah.
And did well academically too. Not to make it negative at all, but if I look at the pro tennis part of my career, I did not achieve my goals. And so in my mind, I was not successful. And that actually taught me so much. And that really defined the second half of my life after that. Because I looked back at my career and I looked at all the mistakes I made, whether it was lack of discipline, lack of preparation, lack of planning, lack of growth mindset, lack of asking questions to coaches who knew. And I'm like, okay, that's why you didn't maximize, you know? So what are you gonna do? You're gonna make those mistakes again, or are you gonna change? And so it was really important for me. And that's really when the light bulb went on, is because when I came off the tour, because I hadn't met my goals, I wanted to get away from tennis completely. But I had a chance to get my MBA paid for, tuition remission at AU, by being the coach. So it's like, I gotta do it. Yep. You know, I really did not want to do it, but I was like, I gotta do it. So, and a week or two in, I just fell in love with it. You know, I just completely redefined my relationship with the sport. And the giving and the mentoring instead of, you know, the taking when you're a player. I just loved it. So that was when I realized that, hey, you know, this is really what I want to do.
It's interesting how much you learn when you fail, how much more you
Yes.
learn when you fail than when you succeed.
Absolutely.
And I think there are so many interesting corollaries to being a founder of, not like failing. I mean, the ultimate failure is when your business just runs out of money and you have to let everyone go.
Down,
But there are many, many failures, like when you lose a customer, when you lose, your product isn't getting launched on time or whatever. And I just feel like there are so many interesting corollaries between the lessons you learn through failure than actually, I don't even know what lessons you necessarily learn from success, right? Other than everyone loves
But it's interesting, yes, 100%. You learn a lot more, it hurts a lot more, so you think about it a lot more and see how you can do things better and different. But also stitching it back to tennis. It's like playing a tennis game, because in a tennis game, you're winning points, you're losing points. When you win points, you can celebrate, but you got to forget about it quickly and get ready for the next one. When you lose a point, you can be upset for 10 seconds or whatever, and then you got to get ready for the next point. So you're going through those, emotions, those journey. You call it process, right? You're going through that process, and it's all part of it. You got to deal with both sides, the wins and the losses, and that's like in a startup. In one day, you have so many different points you're playing, and some you're winning, some you're losing, and and it's part of the journey.
So you guys meet at American University, but probably before then, because you recruit Juwan.
Yeah.
Maybe just before this, how did you get to American University?
So I came off the tour after 7.5 years, and I had a couple years to go to finish my degree. I could have gone back to Stanford, but I didn't have money. I didn't have money to pay. And I could have taken a loan, but I didn't. I felt like, okay, you've been out there and you've been grinding, and now you're going to go back. So I got an academic scholarship to GW University. So I went there to finish my degree. And right when I was graduating, I applied to American University to do my MBA because I connected with the coach, and originally I was going to be his assistant. And a month before the season started, he quit. So they were stuck with me.
Oh, so you were going to be the assistant?
I was going to be the assistant. Okay. So 29, I'm the youngest one of the youngest coaches in the country, head coaches of a D1 school.
And by the way, at that moment in time, you were just going there primarily for your MBA.
Yes.
And so tennis was second.
Completely secondary, completely. And so, get into that role, really, obviously I understand tennis, I understand the process, I paid attention to what my coach did. Yeah. But I met this guy about 6 months in, because Juwan came in my sophomore year there, my second year at AU, not my first year.
Yeah.
And so a few different touch points. One was the principal or dean of his school was a huge Juwan fan, just raved about him.
Wow.
Then I met Juwan's uncle who adopted him, Ramu. Then I met Juwan's coach, Mats, who was a top coach in the area.
He coached actually Paul.
Wow.
Paul Goldstein.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Great coach. And basically, I heard the same three things, What
were the three? What did you
Well, this kid is special.
Okay.
This kid is hungry. And this kid will make your team culture better. And all three of those things were true. Wow. All three of those things were true. So I knew he was a great player because I saw his results. That's easy to see. But those other three things were really important to me because I was just trying to build a team culture. Right. When I came in, no offense to the coach before me, but it wasn't a serious program. It wasn't a serious program. So I needed serious people. I needed people that were hungry. I needed people with high goals. I needed people with a growth mindset, with work ethic, with discipline, that didn't mind suffering to get to a goal. And Juwan was perfect for that. So along with Juwan, there were a couple other guys that came in that had a really good mindset. But I would say in terms of the heart of the team, Juwan was the heart of the team. But there were a lot of great guys. So any of you guys that are watching, you all were amazing. But I think they'll all agree the energy and the drive that he brought to being ready to run through a wall to win a match or for the team to win. That was really what would make me.
That's incredibly young to be the head coach of a D1 program.
Very young. I was thinking about it. I was only like 7-8 years older than some of the guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we had some older guys on the team.
We did have some older guys too. I was only 4 years older than
some guys were around 24, 25. Yeah. It was interesting. I remember this moment very well when I first talked to you on the phone, and then I met with you in person. I've been super fortunate from the time I came to the U.S. till I was getting ready to go to college. A lot of great people around me to help me out. Had a great support system, so I was fortunate from that standpoint. So the president, the dean of Georgetown Prep, Jeffrey Jones, the first African American leader of a very elite prep school in D.C., was the one that brought up Martin's name. Said, "Hey, there's this new coach at American, and he's a phenomenal tennis player as a junior. I remember, reading about him, and he's just taken over the head coach. I know you're not looking at American." I was on recruiting trips with various different schools, some in the area like Virginia Tech, Rice, Duke, and a few other schools I was looking at. And I didn't have any more official visits left, because at that time you can only do 5 official visits where the school pays for you to go spend the night there, and as an athlete, and you get to spend time with the team and all that good stuff. So I kind of went through that motion with my other 5 schools that I looked at. So I kind of made a decision to actually go to Virginia Tech.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because,
it's good that you didn't tell.
Yeah.
It's good that you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I know. Well, I kind of made the decision.
I didn't know he was
signed,
he was close.
I'd given I hadn't signed, but I'd given a verbal, because it basically came down to money for me at that point, and they gave me the most money and was the most cost-efficient school to go to. There were some schools where I had to, even though I would get in, I only got like a $5,000 scholarship. Right? So I still had to pay a lot out of pocket. And so Virginia Tech, I still remember it was like $18,000, and I think I got almost $15,000 or so in scholarship money. So that was kind of the school, like, hey, I'm going to go there, till I heard about Martin. And so I remember.
Have you ever heard of him?
I didn't hear about him. I wasn't exposed. I was pretty, lived in my own world, and I was so zoned in, kind of doing my own thing. So I didn't really hear much about. I knew Paul, because Paul was training with the guy that used to coach me, Mats Clausen.
Mats, yeah.
Right. So I kind of, knew about college tennis, and Paul playing at Stanford. I used to watch that, but then with Martin, there's another gentleman at my school, Coach Keith McKinnon, and said, "Hey, I've got the phone number of Martin Blackman, and I talked to him on the phone, and he's willing to talk to you today." So I remember talking to him from Georgetown Prep, and just introduced myself, and I asked him where is American, because I hadn't actually looked up American. And he's like, "Oh, it's in D.C." And me, coming from India and then living in this like nice school called Georgetown Prep, I was like, DC, and I hadn't really ventured out to DC in my 4 years at Prep. The question I asked Martin was like, "Is it good part or the bad part of DC?" and Martin goes, there's like a 5 seconds awkward silence, and he goes, "Well, why don't you come meet me?" I was like, "Sure." Good. I was like, man, when he said that, I was like, "Yes, I'll come meet you." I was like,
I like that.
So fast forward a few weeks later, I went and met him. We met at the place where
probably Marvelous Market, right? The little cafe down there.
No, outside of the school, but
Sutton Place.
Sutton Place. Sutton Place. That's where Martin. I realized that's where Martin likes to hang out, at this little cafe. So we met outside of campus, and it's kind of interesting. Like the first, of course, I got to know Martin. But just that first interaction I had with them, I made up my mind. This is who I want to play with. Wow. This is what I want to play for. I don't know if because he was on the younger side, I don't know any of that. I just had a great feeling. I walked in and
he hadn't offered you a scholarship yet?
Nothing. I was like, I'm going to find a way to play for him. Wow. And I made up my mind right there. I was like, and I was sure. Because the other time, yes, they were all great schools, but I was very much around the money and how much. But when I met Martin, I felt like it was just a connection. Hey, this is who I want to play for. And
do you feel the same way, Martin?
That's cool. I wanted him the moment I met him too. I wanted him on the team because I knew he was a natural leader.
And I started pitching him hard because I said I didn't realize how expensive the school was. I started pitching you hard right there.
Oh, you were pitching hard.
I was like, I didn't know how expensive the school was, and when he told me how expensive, I said, I need a scholarship. That's the only way I'm going to come. I'm ready to go. And so I kept hitting him up all the time, and finally Martin came through and pretty much gave me a full ride.
Yeah, we got it done. We got it done. Yeah, we got it done.
So it was, but it was that the point he had made earlier about, hey, how do you, take your learnings and you can inspire others. And I think he had that, maybe in a natural way that I looked up to right away. And I said, hey, this is the kind of person I want to be around. This is the kind of person that I want to be mentored by. And there was no doubts in my mind. It was just very clear. And once I have that clarity, I'm a little bit crazy. So, so it was, I was all in.
Hey, I'm curious, Martin, you talk about the generosity of others that, from Port Washington summer scholarship to then Bollettieri's scholarship. So there's been these significant moments that really changed your trajectory. Were there any moments that you thought were just completely non-obvious at that moment in time that really catapulted to where you eventually got to? That maybe, whether it was the 10-year-old Martin or like the 13-year-old Martin, was there some point in time in your career that was totally non-obvious that you look back now and you go, wow, that was game changer?
That was a game changer?
Yeah.
I think maybe things that hit me after that I didn't realize how powerful and impactful they were at the time was because I was still, and I don't want to characterize my career as a complete failure, but in my mind, I did not get close to my goals, and in my mind, it was a failure. But there were other things about it that were beautiful. I loved to travel. I loved the friends that I made. I loved the cultures that I learned about, the languages that I learned. So that was all amazing. But I would say probably looking at some of my peers and friends who made it to the top, like Jim Courier, Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras. Wasn't as close to Pete, but I was able to see what Pete was doing and seeing what they did and how they did it and what it took. That had an impact on me later on that came around. And I'll give you one example. So I remember it was it was mid-January, maybe second week of January one year, and it was about 3-4 days after the end of the Australian Open. And that year, Jim Courier had won the Australian Open. And there was a little high school track across from the academy where we'd go do workouts sometimes. And I made a New Year's resolution to myself that I was going to work harder this year than I ever had. I'm going to get up earlier, I'm going to do more, I'm going to work smarter. And so I got to this track at 6 a.m. on a Monday, start the week, second week of January. And when I got there, Jim was finishing his workout. And I'm like, wait a second, he just won the Australian 4 days ago. So he probably got back here 2 days ago, jet lagged out of his mind, and he's doing a workout at 5 in the morning by himself.
Wow.
And then I realized, well, you're not working hard enough. If a guy's number one in the world and he's doing this, you're not even close. And I saw that in different ways all over the place. The women's game, the men's game. And so when I came off later in life, those things still resonate with me, is there's only one goal, and that's to be the best in the world. Doesn't mean you're going to achieve it, but there's only one goal, and there's only one pursuit, and that's the pursuit of excellence. And it doesn't mean you're going to achieve it, but that's the only pursuit. And if that's your North Star, then you'll do things the right way, you'll focus on process, and you'll maximize your potential. Potential may be 50 in the world, it may be 5 in the world. But the one thing I learned from those greats, and especially Jim, something that Jim would always say, is I can put my head on the pillow at night. I got no problem sleeping, because I know I gave 100%.
What do you think to most people who didn't get to go on the tour? What do you think is the most non-obvious thing to viewers, to fans, to people like Juwan who never got to go pro? Like, what do you think is totally non-obvious to the lame person?
To the layman? I think it is probably how simple the process is. I think a lot of people, when they look at greatness in business or sports, they think it's very complex and complicated. And the knowledge domain may be complex, and but the process is never complicated or complex. The process is always one of being prepared, getting better every day, being honest and self-aware, having a growth mindset, and wanting to know where your weaknesses are. I think for most of us, Carey, I don't need you to tell me, you tell me about my good stuff, right? Most of us are afraid of kind of hearing but the more you kind of lean into that, it's a gift, right? Feedback is a gift. And that's the great thing about sports. That's why sports is such a beautiful metaphor for life, because in sports you get feedback. You lost the match. That means you're better than me, you beat me, right? You're ranked 20, I'm ranked 22. You're better than me. But if I work harder, I could be ranked 19. It's that simple. You hit the ball in the net, so you lost the point, right? So maybe you want to hit it 2 feet higher next time. And Andre talks about that all the time, is the feedback that you're getting is instant. And if you pay attention in life and business, it's the same. But you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention.
And you have to be open to getting that feedback.
You've got to be so open.
You're on point with sports, because there is that interaction, player, coach, teammate. Sometimes your teammates hold you accountable, and there's that back and forth. You're like, hey, we're all on the same team, same goal, but we're going to have debates, we're going to have arguments, we're going to have good times. It's all part of the journey.
Right, we're all trying to get to the same place.
Goal. How do we figure out we can all work well together to go win that title? And in that journey, there's going to be a lot of feedback. How do we improve as a team? How do you improve as an individual? And that is used in not just in sports, in everyday life, whether it's personal or professional.
Absolutely. And one more thing I'm going to tell. This is maybe the most non-obvious, actually, going back to your question, is I think when a lot of people, especially sports fans, they don't understand the correlation between character and success. I think there's a feeling that, oh, maybe he's not a great guy, but he's the best. Or but the correlation between character and success in life, business, or sports is so direct. And the reason is because excellence in performance is the culmination of a series of consistently good choices throughout your life. So choices about what you eat, choices about your friends, choices about whether you drink or not, choices about whether you do drugs or not, choices about how you treat people, your relationships. You cannot be successful over a sustained period without making good character choices. And I think that is something that people don't really realize. And I've been very fortunate because I've got to see a lot of champions up close. And I pay really close attention to their character. I was at a movie once, and Rafa came to watch the movie, and it was a pretty long line. And everybody was trying to get him to go to the front of the line. He went, no, I'm going to wait like everybody else. I remember once Andy Murray was training in Orlando with Lendl for a couple weeks, and I wanted to make sure his hotel was all set up and everything. So I went to his hotel, and I was like, hey, Andy, we got a spot for you at this 4-star hotel. He was staying in a Residence Inn, and he's there doing his own laundry. This guy's been one in the world. He's got 3 right? So those are the things that you see with those champions. How do they treat people when no one's looking? That whole term of kicking down, kissing up. Champions don't do that. You treat everybody with respect. So I think that's kind of one of the non-obvious things, is that character is a massive driver of performance.
And I would say when I first met Martin, that's what stood out. Right? And when we were training with him and when he was coaching us, I think there was obviously he had a great tennis background for coaching a team like American, who had just gotten fully funded recently, so he was building the program.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he could have gone to any top-notch college tennis team to be a coach based on his background. But we were fortunate to have him. And the one thing that stood out was he would always say, and he still says this from time to time, always do the right thing, even when it's difficult to do it. And we knew, and I personally knew, that, hey, being around someone like that type of mindset, that type of character was a game changer. Of course, for tennis, but also beyond tennis. So I'm glad you brought that up.
No, that's nice. Appreciate that.
Is there a match or a drill or something that Martin instilled in you that you still do today as a CEO? Because in many ways, you are the head coach of Zingtree as a CEO.
The reason I did that was Martin taught us this, that, held us all accountable, and he did it in a very interesting way. So, if we showed up late to practice, if we skipped practice, if you're late by a minute, if you, are not behaving on the court, or gives you a strategy, no more drop shots, Guillaume, right, GT, right, no more drop shots. But we had a teammate of ours who hit a lot of drop shots, and Martin wanted him to hit through the ball. So
Alcaraz does hit a lot of drop shots.
Yeah.
He does, but he can do whatever he wants. This guy just wanted to hit drop shots.
Only.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't sneaking one in.
Oh yeah, and it hurt him. It hurt him. Yeah.
So anytime, where we as players didn't do it the right way, the person who did it the wrong way could hang out and chill out with Martin, but the rest of the team had to pay for it.
Wow.
So that was, it was an interesting concept. That was the first time I've seen that.
Do you know why I did that? I mean, obviously, it's pretty obvious.
I think you're
right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But here's the thing, though, because it's about the team.
Yep.
Right? It's about the team. So the best cultures are self-policing.
Yes.
So if you want to keep hitting drop shots, you go ahead and keep hitting drop shots. Your team's going to straighten you out.
Yeah, that was perfect, right?
So after they've run enough or done enough high knee jumps or whatever, they'll straighten you out.
That was,
right?
It was, in fact, I made mistakes too. So if I did something wrong, I had too much candy, the rest of the team ran. I didn't eat healthy, or if we had a teammate who had a hard time waking up in the morning. Mm-hmm. And sometimes Martin used to do 6 a.m. practice, 6:30 practice, 7 a.m. practice, including New Year's Day, January 1st. And
great way to start the year.
Why do you think I did it on January 1st? It didn't affect you because you don't drink.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you know what? You guys are going to go out. Okay, but you're going to keep it under control.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a 6:30 practice.
So we did that. But what was cool about that was, like, you're right. Not only do we hold ourselves accountable, we held our teammates accountable. Yeah. So we would go at the teammates' dorm room, knock on their door, and wake them up at 6 o'clock so they won't be late for the 6:30 practice. We'll drag them out. And some of these guys, had too much fun. So I said, I don't care. You're going to show up, and and some of these guys did have a few incidents during the run. They had to, throw up a little bit on the side.
But that's how you learn.
But it was a beautiful thing to see where we all kind of cared about each other, but we also held each other accountable, even without Martin being fully in the weeds, just by the actions he put in place, the framework he put in place, where, and that's why, Martin was a few minutes late today, so I did 5 push-ups for you.
Absolutely, thank you. But the other thing, Carey, I learned, not at the beginning. At the beginning, I felt like I had to control more. But I was at AU for 5 years, and I'd say the last 2 years, the other thing I learned is you've got to also make yourself accountable to the team. And I did in my behaviors and my standards and everything else, but really giving them the ability. And I'll give you one example. So during my time in AU, towards the end of it, I was appointed to be on the board of directors of the USTA. And it was about 5 meetings a year. And I had to miss maybe 15 days. And I remember one season the guys said, Coach, we feel like you're not here enough. And we need you here more. It's not the same when it's just the assistant coach. And I said, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm not here enough. And I told the board, I said, look, I'm not going to be able to make every single meeting. But that was a great wake-up call. My 2 captains came to me and said that. Juan, I don't remember if it was you and GT or you and somebody else, but 2 of you came to me and said.
I think it was Andras and myself.
Andras and yourself? Okay, yeah. So, but that's a really big part of leadership too. It doesn't just go one way. The leader, in fact, has to be more accountable than everybody else. And you want to have a culture, and I'm sure you're like this, Carey and Juan, is that if you're saying these are our values, right? This is our shared vision, then that means the person cleaning up, the person at the front desk, they have the ability to hold you accountable, just like everybody
100%.
else.
100%. Yeah. Yep.
And do you implement these things at Zingtree today?
Yeah, I mean,
You make people do push-ups?
Different times, Carey, different times.
We want to, we're all about building a high-performance culture. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. It's harder to do it in a remote world when we're not in the office and spending time, and that's the world we live in post-COVID. But we've got a culture where it's built on trust, integrity, competitiveness, having high standards. And when we lose, it's about, hey, learnings,
right?
Being open about it. Hey, I made a mistake. I'm held accountable. How can we do this? And how can we do it as a team and get the team's help to do that? And when we win, right? Hey, we won. We had a great quarter. Okay, what more can we do? How else can we do better? Right? So always having that mindset, because hey, how can we get better? Even when it's good or bad, and having those kinds of conversations is really critical.
That's the process focus right there, right? Kaizen, constant gradual improvement. And one of the things I learned as it relates to process and how you reinforce that was from one of the greatest coaches I've ever seen, a gentleman called Jose Higueras. And Jose, with his players, he would get them on the practice court for 15 to 20 minutes after every match. Didn't matter if it was a 4-hour 5-setter.
Whether you win or lose.
And it didn't matter whether you won or lost.
Yeah.
And I remember first couple of weeks I met him, I said, Jose, why is that so important? He said, because it sends the message that no matter how well you played or how badly you played, the goal is to get better.
I love it.
So I said, well, so when you're coaching Jim, you lost like a brutal semis or finals at a slam, would you guys get back on the practice court? He said, absolutely. Absolutely. And he said, it's not a punishment. When they lose, you're not going out there to punish them and make them run. You're just going out there to be like, okay, these things we didn't really do too well in the match today. Let's work on that. Get your groove, whatever, boom. And then in your mind, it's rewired. It's like, well, wait a second. So you're saying that the biggest thing wasn't the match. It's really just to get better every day. And it's like, yeah, that's what it is. It's to get better every day. And then I'll say the second part of that that I learned and try to apply is your biggest opportunity to rewire someone's brain, whether they're a junior or whether they're a teammate working on your team, is how do you respond to their wins and losses? And for me as a coach, if a player gave 100%, executed the game plan that I asked them to execute, and they lost 0-0, I was incredibly proud of them. And I told them that, and I praised them. And sometimes they look at you like you're crazy. Well, what do you mean? You're happy? I lost 2-2. Like, I lost the match. It was 3-3, and we lost 4-3. Nope. You gave 100%. You had a great attitude, and you did exactly what I asked you to do. Flip side is you win. You had a bad attitude. You were cheating. You were disrespecting your opponent, and you let your team down with the way you behaved. And you played amazing, and you won 2-2. I'm not happy, and neither should you be. And I think that's really, really important.
Can you tell me a time when you just absolutely choked? Is there a time?
Oh, so many. I mean,
what's the one that sticks out? What's the one that sticks out?
Thanks for bringing this up, Carey.
So many. Carey's so upbeat. I love it. Yep. That's good stuff.
But I think what's interesting is around that idea wasn't necessarily the moment, but what did you learn afterwards? Like, I'm more curious about the moment, but what created it? How do you design that? Because we've talked about this high performance culture, feedback loop, making sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So what was that one moment that you remember? Like, when I say choke, I'm sure each of you have oh, I remember that. And then what did you do afterwards to prevent that from ever happening again?
Got it. Apart from breaking a couple rackets. So the one I remember is pretty painful. And thanks, Carey. Remind me to never do a podcast with you again.
Giving you opportunities. Let's open these wounds. Let's open these wounds.
That's right. So I don't know if you remember a player called Michael Steek, but he won Wimbledon a couple times. German player, great player. And I was playing him in the first round of a warm-up tournament in Schenectady. I qualified. I was playing really, really well. And he won the first set 6-4. I was up a break in the second. It was blazing hot. It was probably about 110 degrees. I was up a break in the second. I lost a second in a tiebreaker, even though I had a mini break in the breaker as well. And basically, I just played not to lose. I played tight. You know, I was hoping he would miss. I'd hoping he'd give it to me. And at the end of the match, he said, "Geez, man, you played so well. I wouldn't have been able to play the third." He said, I was out of gas. He's like, "Keep it going. You know, you're playing really well." And my takeaway from that match is, when you're playing at the highest level, you got to play to win. The good guys aren't going to give it to you. You got to play to win. Yeah. And the thing about it too that frees you up is, when you play to win, even when you lose, it doesn't hurt as bad. It hurts really badly when you play not to lose and you got balls hanging in the middle of the court. You don't go for it. You don't stick the volley. It hurts way worse than maybe lining something up and going for it and missing it by an inch, because you're playing to win. You're playing to take it. And so that was a good learning for me. Yeah.
Juan, same thing for you.
So before I jump into that, fresh on my mind, the feedback side we were just talking about, is you have that in the business world as well. Like when you run into an issue, a challenge, being able to give instant feedback I think is much better than giving feedback a week later. Yeah. So like the way you were talking about, like right after you finish a match, you go on, whether you win or lose. Whether you win or lose, you're spending 20 minutes to work on something.
That's right.
Hey, I noticed this in the match, let's work on this for 10, 20 minutes, because it's so fresh in your head. Yeah. It's the same way, like you just finished a call and I maybe said the wrong thing. Someone giving me feedback right then is very effective, and then someone telling me like, a week later, "Oh, you know what, you did this a week." It still is helpful, but when you do it right there, it's very effective.
Absolutely.
So I like that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Because it's such a tough part of leadership, though, because we're afraid of hurting. Sometimes we're afraid of hurting the other person's feeling. Yeah. But if they know where it's coming from,
and they know they care, you care,
right? That you care. Then you do it as quickly as possible.
And it's easy, and then you don't forget it either. Right? So I wanted to just bring that up. But in terms of choking, I think you had just finished coaching at AU, and you had gone to JTCC.
Okay, so it was your senior year?
It was my super senior year.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were playing for and this is when AU went through some funding challenges. They cut the tennis team. The tennis team wasn't going to be around next year, and we were.
You guys knew it was going to be your last year?
Yeah, not that year, the next year.
Okay. You knew the next year was going to be your last year?
So we were playing, and I was going to be gone.
Okay.
I was graduating in a month or so, and it was the Patriot League finals. We were playing against Army, and I'm playing on court 1, and we always had a great support group there at AU supporting the tennis team. Everyone's there, the team's there, and it's come down to the 2 last matches on the court, myself and court 3, Jeffrey Chanel. Right, so we're playing, and I'm up 4-1 in the third set.
Looking good.
Looking good. I won the first set fairly easy. I lose the second set 7-6. I'm battling a little bit of an injury, so I have my, Sean Dasher taped up my feet, but he taped it up too tight. So I was literally had a blood clot. So I take a break in the third and have him fix it. I actually said, forget the tape. Forget the tape. I'm just going to play without the tape. And I'm up 4-1. I'm doing well, so I'm feeling good, And Jeff was playing his match, and I just start caring about it way too much. Right, because I see, hey, this is on me now. This is, everyone's watching. The team is here. I'm getting distracted with my leg. I'm not zoned in. And 4-1 becomes 4-2, 4-3, 4-all, eventually 5-all, and I lose 7-5. Right? We still haven't lost because the last match is still going on. But I did choke there, right? And so there was a lot of lessons from there. Hey, don't get distracted. Don't worry about all the things that are happening outside. Stay in your zone. Stay focused. Forget about what others think or caring, too much about these things. Just do what you do and
Absolutely.
zone in. And whatever the outcome is the outcome. And that should have been the attitude. And I've had similar instances in businesses like that. Right? In my first startup, Zimi, where I cared way too much. And it was not that, there's nothing wrong in caring, but I was thinking through all these things and I dug myself in a hole. I wasn't helping the business the way I wanted to.
Because that's outcome focus, right?
Yes. Instead of focusing on the process, right? Hey, focus on the process.
That's
You're doing step by step. You have a big vision, great, but then every day I'm doing this, boom, 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 and that builds up, right, over a period of time. That's a better way to live versus saying, hey, I need to win this match. Like there's a lot of riding on this, and then you get distracted and you choke.
Absolutely. But I'm going to build on that. I got one message for anybody who's listening, and it has to do with kind of how you treat yourself as well after you choke, is that for people who don't put themselves in the arena, a lot of times it's very easy to, call somebody a choke. Oh, they were up, they choked this, choke, yeah. But what they don't realize is that choking comes from caring. And most of the time, choking is a gateway to success. A couple times you hit that wall, you hit that, and then you break through. I look at a player who I've really looked up to as a competitor, a guy called Ivan Lendl. I think he lost 4 Grand Slam finals before he won his first one.
Wow. He won a lot of Grand Slams.
He won a lot. He won 8. And he just kept working harder and smarter. That's all he did. Think back to earlier this year when Amanda Nasimova lost in the finals of Wimbledon, 6-love to Swiatek. And I got so many texts and just hearing all this stuff about, oh, it feels so bad for her, it's so embarrassing. There's nothing embarrassing about giving 100% in the finals of Wimbledon, coming back after taking a hiatus, and being so mentally strong and being so open about your struggles and putting yourself there. That she is my hero, if anything. And because of the way she dealt with that is why she came back and beat Swiatek at the Open a couple weeks ago. So I think, it's all part of the process.
Do you feel like there's often, like at Conductive Ventures, we always talk about being capital efficient in business. Is there an analogy to tennis where, like we believe the best companies that are funded are the ones that practice this philosophy of being really capital efficient? Some people call it being frugal, being, just really, really smart with every single penny. Is there an analogy in tennis where oftentimes, players train too much, or maybe they're blessed with the best coaches and the best academies, yet they don't achieve as much as the ones that are hungry, maybe coming from a war-torn country. But is there something around constraints that really sharpen execution?
I think so. I mean, I'll go first, you go, and then you go, Juan. So in tennis is a sport where you can do a lot. You can layer a lot on top of the on-court training. You've got nutrition, you got athletic medicine, you got performance analytics, you got biometrics, you can sleep in a hyperbaric chamber if you want. There's so many things you can layer on from a sports science perspective. And some of those things are really shiny and they look really cool. The work gets done on the court. So once you realize that 80% of what makes a great player happens on the court, that other 20%, if you get it right with everything else, is incredibly important. Good performance analytics, good nutrition, good S&C, it's all so important. But if you don't get that 80% right, none of the other 20 matters. And I think that's a big, it's a distraction, it's an escape, and it's an excuse. A lot of federations fall into it. A lot of academies fall into it. A lot of coaches fall into it. Because when you're looking for all those bells and whistles, it gives you an out. It gives you an escape hatch.
So you're basically saying, hey, you're not putting the 80% at the highest level, you're focused on the 20%.
Absolutely.
The 20% definitely makes a difference, but you got to do the 80% to make it work.
Absolutely. The 20% only matters after you've established the 80%.
Yeah.
And I'll give one analogy. Someone asked Rafa, how much time he spends working on his mental training, mental performance, in therapy or with a performance psychologist or sports psychologist. And don't get me wrong, sports psychology is a massive part of being your best. His response was, when I give 100% on the court, I'm making myself mentally tougher every single day. When I hold myself 100% accountable, when Uncle Tony holds me 100% accountable, I'm making myself mentally tougher. That's where I get my mental toughness. So I think that's really, so to your point about constraints, I think when you have players that come from situations with less, like a Novak in Serbia, Rafa didn't grow up with a ton. Some of these players, Francis Tiafoe, I think it makes you squeeze. You squeeze more juice out of what you have.
100%.
And that's always a good thing.
Juan?
Totally on point. Great stories. I love it. Actually, I take this back when I first went to Georgetown Prep, Jeff Jones, the dean of the school. He always looked at me and said, Juan, you have the right amount of disadvantage to be successful. Right? So at that point, I thought it was a negative thing. So I was like, man, this guy's calling me disadvantaged, So I didn't really understand it. But as I kept thinking about it, as my life kept moving on, it puts you in a certain type of mindset when you have the right amount of disadvantage to, like you said, squeeze the most out of it. And can we go hire 10 more people tomorrow or 20 more people tomorrow to make our lives a little bit easier? That way you're not doing too many calls, you have more quiet time to think, or travel less and all that stuff. Sure, but to your point on the business side, being capital efficient, it makes you stay lean, makes you and your team stay hungry. What I'm most proud about at Zingtree is we've gone through ups and downs, but our teammates tell me, hey, Juan, we don't need to make this higher. It's okay, because they don't want to go through the pain of going through a cut or going through these. No, we're going to step up and do more.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So you build that kind of mindset throughout the whole company. When you run a capital efficient, when you run a driven lean operation, where everyone wants to step up and do more. We had an incident just last week, 2 back-to-back, some minor blips and challenges, but a customer called us at 12:30 in the morning because they needed some help.
Got it.
They called us at 2:30 in the morning, needed some help, and we were available.
Great.
Right? I was on the phone with them. Our team was on the phone with them.
I love that. That's so cool.
And guess what? They appreciated that. They're like, wow. And could we have had someone living in the UK hired for that role and take that call, or have someone in the local time zone of the customer? Sure. But we took it on ourselves, saying, hey, we're going to be lean. We're going to be, step up more because we're lean, because we all need to do 1x more than what we normally do. And for the customers, I think it goes a long way, because they felt that, they ran into some issues. But guess what? This is the kind of team we want to work with.
Right.
Because when
you guys are all in.
Yeah, when I call the CEO of this company at 2:30 in the morning, he's on the phone. And his whole team is there helping out to figure out how we can help them.
Yeah, next level. That's
and that's, just not me, it's also the inspiration from our team, who is basically pushing me to say, hey, Juan, you don't need to go make that higher. We're going to step up and do more.
Right.
So to your point, Carey, you've been driving this, from the time, and you guys are a startup yourself, and that's the reason we joined you guys, because, we had options. We were fortunate to have options to work with much bigger firms than Carey that have been around, Silicon Valley for a long time. But with Carey and his group, we were very much felt like, hey, these guys are like us. They're a startup. They're grinding. They're staying lean. And who better to look up to from that standpoint to make sure that we don't lose sight of our goals and being cost efficient and capital efficient and being smart about how you use the money versus getting into all the shiny things.
Yeah.
Right. The shiny things are good too to balance things out, but you need to, like you said, if you don't put the work on the court, the last 20% doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So it's the same way. It's like, hey, if you don't get the foundation and the basics of business operations right, then doesn't matter. Like, you may get a big customer, but if you can't deliver for them, they're going to be there for a year and they're out.
What's interesting is, like, as I reflect back on our conversation so far, neither of you have said anything about talent. All I've heard about is hard work harder, it's all about character. And we've not even approached the topic of talent. And some of the players that you know extremely well,
Sure.
Jim Courier, Andy Murray, these people are extremely talented.
Yeah.
Yet you've not said one word about it. Why?
Well, talent and being gifted, it's something that gives you an advantage in your journey. So it's like getting a head start, right? You're so talented carrying this, so you got a head start, but it doesn't get you to the finish line. So if you don't add work ethic, discipline, and growth mindset to that talent, then all you've got is a very scary word, which is called potential. Right? Potential. In your business, that's an unrealized return, right?
That's right.
So, when we did some interviews with champions because we're always trying to learn, the psyche, the mindset. And we did one with Jim. And Jim said, I didn't have the talent that Andre or Pete had, but I had a different kind of talent. I had a talent to work hard and suffer. And my tolerance for that was so high that I could catch them.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really profound.
The other person that comes to mind is Michael Chang.
Michael Chang, yeah.
Right?
Michael Chang. Although Michael was very talented. He was very talented. He was very talented. But I mean, his work ethic and definitely Michael cut from the same cloth as Jim. Those guys were always going to do it.
So you always felt like from a young age he was a Grand Slam potential champion. I mean, that was crazy. Like
Michael and Jim?
Yeah, Michael Chang.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I knew Michael was great junior, and Jim, but you don't really know at that time.
No, it's hard.
But what you do know is you don't like to play him.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you know. You look at the draw and you're like, oh shoot, I'm playing Michael in the quarters or something. You don't want to, because the guy's going to run for every ball. He's going to make you hit one more ball. He's the toughest competitor out there, and he never takes a point off. And so I think, to your point, Carey, talent gives us a head start, but it doesn't get us to the finish line.
So as head of USTA player development, you've seen lots of kids with high potential.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned that you interview a lot of champions like Jim Courier to really understand the mental psyche behind what makes them a champion versus not.
Yeah.
So when you take stock of everything that you did when you were running player development, plus all the champions that you knew,
and could learn from,
what do you think separates those who make it and those who don't?
Such a good question, and I'll give an answer, but there are people that will give better answers than me. But I think that champions need to win, and I think that most of us really want to win. But champions need to win, and it's hard to kind of put a finger on what that means. You recognize it when you see it. And that was kind of the switch that flipped in me when I came off the tour. When I was on the tour, I really wanted to win, but I really wasn't willing to suffer and do everything that it took to win. And when I came off the tour and I had something more to work for, I had a wife, I had kids, I had this team, then the switch flipped. And I need to win. So in my life, and in what I'm doing now, I started a business 6 months ago that's done really well. and I'm going into an amazing opportunity at a great program called the Junior Tennis Champions Center in Maryland as CEO starting in a couple of weeks. But I would say in the second half of my career and what I've been able to do, I need to win. I need to pursue excellence. I need to try to be the best in the world. And luckily at player development, I was surrounded by people that felt the same way. So I wasn't alone in that. I looked to my left, I looked to my right, the amazing people I work with, Kathy Rinaldi, Kent Kinnear, Ola Malmquist. I told you Jose Higueras is a mentor and a role model and the best coach, I think, in the world. And so if you can do that, if you can tap into that and identify people and build a team with people that have that drive that's intrinsic, it's not about, oh, Carey's here at 7, so I better stay till 7:05. No. I'm staying at 7:05 because I got things to do. I got to get done. And I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm not going to be able to relax and enjoy dinner at home with my family unless I get it done. But when I get done at 4 o'clock, I'll leave at 4. And I would think champions need to win. I've never met a champion that didn't have that that edge of, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. What do you think?
I relate it to founders who eventually get a huge exit, right? Which is the result.
Right. Yeah.
But I think the process for most founders, and I'm going to give away this answer because I was just about to ask Juan how he processes this.
Right, yeah.
But I feel like for me, when I look at the founders that we back, I always say it's those founders that get shoved into a corner, and you can bet 10 times out of 10, they're going to figure a way out.
Got it.
They're not going to fold. They're not going to say, I quit.
Right.
They're not going to wave the white flag.
Right.
They're going to figure it out.
Right.
Come hell or high water, there's just something in them that won't allow them to call it quits. Mm-hmm. Those are the folks that we love backing.
Great.
So I don't know if that is completely relatable to needing to win versus wanting to win.
Yeah.
But in our world, it's those founders that really set themselves apart.
Yeah.
From the ones that just do so-so or okay, or even the ones that just end up going bankrupt, which is obviously something that happens quite a bit in the startup.
Sure, quite a bit. And I'll add one more thing that I think is the flip side of the coin that you talk about, what makes champions different. So one, I think on that other side is that need to win, not the want, the need to win. But the other side of the coin is the love of the game. And lots of times champions lose the love of the game as when they start to win big and they're at the top, because then the pressure, then it's always like, if I don't win, it's a failure. So Tom Brady, if I don't win the 4th, the 5th, the 6th. Serena, if I don't win the 17th, the 18th, the 19th. So I think sometimes you can lose the love, but in their process of developing, they had a love. And it wasn't work. So that, there's a great documentary called In Search of Greatness, which looks at some of the greatest athletes in every different sport across hockey, football, basketball, you name it. And there's a piece in there with Gretzky talking about how he would spend hours on the ice, in the winter on the ponds and everything. And he would make up all these games in his head of what game he's playing, the clock is ticking, he has to take the shot. And it was all in his imagination. And it's like, this guy would do this it was like, I was lost. I loved it. My parents would have to come out and say, hey, Wayne, come in. It's, dinner time. I think most champions have that other side of the coin as well. Yeah.
Juan?
I mean, Carey, just listening to what Coach was saying, like you have this playbook with how you back founders. Right? You're not just looking, high potential is helpful, but you go beyond the high potential, right? Because just from meeting with all your founders that you've backed, that's something that stood out to me as well. Like even doing the process, because we got to meet some of your founders before you invested in us, and that stood out that, hey, yeah, these guys are smart, they have potential, but guess what? They're cut from a different cloth. The way they operate is different, and they've got that hustle, the mindset, so you can see that.
Something that drives them.
yeah.
That's just, I mean, I love that Wayne Gretzky story because I feel like any player or founder that does this, it's by choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you see someone forced into it that becomes
That does
either
well,
that
yeah.
successful
Right.
Yeah.
or continues to, like what you said earlier, to sustainably be successful.
That's right.
I feel like it's just because it's such a grind
Yeah.
that if you don't love it or there isn't something intrinsically driving you,
That's
And,
right.
and people
So
can see
hard.
it.
Yeah.
I think they
That's
can
right.
see through it too.
Yeah.
it's hard to fake it.
Yeah, because it's, you know, you can see when someone's not into it or don't have that passion.
Yeah.
So it is, you know, to your point, yeah, you need to have that passion that you were talking about,
Yeah.
and then the need to want it, right? Not
Need it.
no, I mean, need the yeah, and the,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Clearly,
I messed
Juan
up.
only
yeah.
wanted it.
Yeah, exactly. I did.
Nah, Juan needs it.
No, but
Juan needs it.
you know, but what is interesting when you said is, I wanted to ask you this question. Like you said, you wanted it when you were a player, but when you had more people around you that you were kind of looking after or needed to help or paid forward in certain ways, you needed it.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting, you know, and 'cause I thought about that too. You know, not in the same way you articulated it, but for me was, hey, when I was playing for myself, it's like, hey, maybe I only wanted it, or maybe I needed it more from a financial standpoint to get an
Sure,
education.
sure.
So I did whatever it did to like get that, you know, education that way. But now that I'm surrounded by a lot of different people, you know, teammates, customers, you know, there's a certain type of way you think about it, and you said that well, because now you have your team, your family, and you really need it to be successful.
Absolutely.
So when
Yeah.
there's more people,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
where
When
you're
you have people
dependent on you,
Yeah.
then the need, you know, it
And it's
changes from a
bigger-
want
right.
to a need.
Right, that's right. And it's bigger than you, right?
Yeah.
It's bigger than you.
Yeah.
You know, there's those days where you're fried, right?
Yeah.
You're fried. Like my team goes to junior tournaments and does 16-hour days. You know, they wake the kids up in the morning. They meet before they wake the kids up. They do the lesson plans. They look at the schedule. They figure out the transportation. They coordinate the practice times, who's going to watch the matches. Then the practices after the match, like we talked about for process. Then the dinner, then the hydration, then the stretching. Then they'll meet at night to plan the next day. They'll do that for 2-3 weeks in a row. They'll do that at all the Grand Slams. And there's some days you wake up and you're like, I don't know if I can do it. But what gets you out of bed is you're like, well, I know Joe's going to do it. I know Jose's going to do it. I know Kathy's going to do it. I know Lori's going to do it. I got to do it for them. And then they're going to do it for you, right? And then the day when you really can't get out of bed, it's okay, because they're going to be there for you, and vice versa. And I think that makes it special when you're doing it with a team, for a team.
Yeah.
One of the things that you guys, because you guys have both done junior tennis, and I've been to a few junior, tournaments where, let's just say the parents are a little bit intense. So I'm curious, Martin, as a dad of many kids who play tennis at a high level, where's that line that you draw between being a dad versus being an over-involved parent?
Yeah.
And I know you've got young kids and
Yeah.
they play a ton. So where do you draw that line for parents and say, yo, I think you need to just
chill. You need to chill a little bit, yeah. Well, first off, I will not pretend to be the perfect tennis dad, because that would be disingenuous. But I think I've been pretty good, and mostly because my wife has checked me. When she's seen me getting too intense and, making the kids, putting the kids on edge, making them feel like, they kind of have to do something related to tennis. She's been really good about checking me. But I think, the rule of thumb for me has been, for my kids, and I share this with other parents, if you're gonna do something, do it properly. Okay, number one. Number two is I want you to have fun. So I don't want you to do something that you're not enjoying. Luckily, all my kids enjoyed tennis. And number three is, because I have the knowledge, and I happen to, even though I'm your dad, I'm going to show you how to do things the right way, but I'm not going to be wed to the outcome. So going back again to the same thing on the team. I've gone to 100 tournaments with all 4 of my kids. They give 100%. You didn't cheat. You had a good attitude. I'm happy. Now the tough thing about tournaments, junior tournaments, is the environment can be tough, right? There can be a lot of cheating. There can be a lot of crazy parents. So you've got to really make sure that you're protecting your kid as well. And that's a tough balance. You know, there have been a couple times when I've told my kid, hey, we're actually gonna end it right here. Yeah, we're gonna
in a match.
Yeah, we're gonna end it right here because the combination of the cheating and the crazy parents, I'm not gonna subject my 12-year-old kid to that.
Wow.
Yeah, and only a couple times.
Yeah.
There have been a couple times when one of my kids has made a bad call and I've corrected it in the match.
I love that. Yeah.
In the match. And they're like, what are you doing? Dad, what are you doing? Yeah, that ball was good. You missed the call. Just so they know, like, hey guys, that's a non-negotiable.
Yep.
You know, it's non-negotiable.
Even if it was unintentional.
Even if it was unintentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's like a couple millimeters, but if they miss something by an inch or 2 and I'm at a tournament, I'm going to correct it. So I think that's a good way to manage it, but you really have to make sure that you're not conveying any kind of conditional love.
Yeah.
Because that's really what damages a relationship with kids and parents. You know, you go to Taco Bell when they lose and you go to a nice restaurant when they win, all that kind of stuff.
Taco Bell, always.
It's part of the process.
There you go. That's part of the capital, managing the capital, right? That's great.
Yeah,
that's not where we're going to dinner tonight.
Can do that.
no, that's
Yeah.
I mean, Carey, we talk about this a lot. I got 2 little kids. You got 3 kids. You know, a part of me is actually sad when I go to these events because the kids are amazing. I can see it. The kids are great, but the way sometimes kids make mistakes, so it's on the parent to help them out and correct them.
Yeah.
Right, and that starts at home, and then onto the court.
Yeah.
Translates onto the court. But for the most part, kids are great.
Yeah.
And yes, they need some help when they make mistakes, and that's what kids do. Adults do that too. But the way the parents make that environment is it's sad because it hurts the kid.
Yeah.
And I see this in a different way because for most of my teenage life, yes, I had a lot of people help me out, but I was alone. And I actually benefited from that.
Yeah. No, that's right.
Because you never had an overbearing parent.
Because they didn't even know much about tennis, and the family that took me in, yes, they cared and loved, but you know, we get dropped off, we get picked up at the end of the day, no one's watching the match, you know, so you were on your own, and I benefited from that.
The independence, the resilience, right?
And I think it helped me not just in tennis, but outside of tennis as well. And now when I see these little kids, and I take my 9-year-old for a tennis match or a golf event, and you know, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of tension that the kids feel, and it's not just because, you know, they're putting that on themselves, because they understand the environment, because they're pretty freaking smart these days, these kids. They know everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Right? My 5-year-old tells me that CC-Pass is not playing well because he's fighting with his dad. I'm like, how do you even know this guy CC-Pass, and how do you know he's fighting with his dad? Like, you know, so these kids these days just know a lot if they're into something.
Yeah.
So they're into tennis, or they're into golf, or they're into basketball. You know, they understand a lot of what's going on. Then they see how the people that they're closest to, how they behave,
react.
how they act in front of them. And I get to see this for the first time as a parent, not just for my kids, but I can see how other parents behave during this experience of my kids competing in different sports. And it does make me sad to watch, because those kids are not...
It hurts them.
It hurts. Yeah.
It makes them weak. It makes them dependent. And a good business analogy, I mean, it's like, I think one of the things that what happens in that environment, and I want to preface it by saying the USTA has some amazing initiatives that are really making that environment much more positive. So anybody with kids that are starting to play tournaments, you're going to see it get better and better. But we think that when we remove all challenges from our kids and when we fix everything that we're helping them, we're hurting them so much.
100%.
So much.
It's like a crutch.
Yeah. It's like, I remember, you know, there'd be times where we'd be going to a tournament and my son would have like just one small water jug away. I'm like, you think you have enough water? Yeah, I have enough water. Well, okay. You bananas, snacks, everything? Yeah, you got everything? Yeah, okay. Then we get to the tournament. He's halfway through the third set. He's out of water, no banana. Hey, Dad, can you go get it? Nope.
I love that.
You said you had enough water, right?
The next time he won't make that mistake.
So maybe that's how you learn.
Yep.
Right? So we have to remember that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so I see that, and you know, now live, like watching these kids, and but I'm a huge fan of these kids because I'm amazed how much these little kids can do, you know, at that age.
But they're always they're internalizing.
I know
They're
it's just hard because they're like a sponge.
Yeah.
And they're smart enough to absorb all these different things. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting.
How do you handle it with your kids? Because your kids are very athletic.
Yeah, so you know, from a young age, and I think I've been benefited from being around a lot of great coaches, and you know, learning from you, coach, was super helpful. So I'm always like telling them the things that you were telling me, right? You know, do the right thing. I have them read the Michael Jordan quote a lot.
Great.
From, you know, I've lost over and over again in my life, and that is why I win. Right. So that is instilled in them from a very young age.
Great. So they're not afraid of failure.
They're not afraid of failure, and so I see that over because it's almost weird because like when I was little, every time I lost, I would cry.
Yeah.
My 9-year-old, like he lost, and then when he was playing, you know, the different progression balls, when he first started playing, you know, Jonathan, that you know.
Yeah.
First like 12 matches in green ball, he lost.
Okay.
Not a single tear, because I know how competitive he is and how much he wants to win.
Right.
So I was shocked, and he's holding it all in.
Okay.
And then when he won, he literally acted like he won the U.S. Open. He fell on the court. He's like, I did it! Right? It was so, you know, and I'm not saying we've done it right or perfect, but I think exposing them to, hey, losing is a great thing. That's how you get better. Mm-hmm. You know, and showing it not through our words, but showing it through the words of, you know, athletes that they would appreciate.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
like
right.
From,
yeah, that helps a lot.
You heard Steph Curry talk about it, or you heard Djokovic talk about it, or you hear, Alcaraz talk about it, or, you know, when they hear these professional, you know, athletes and even business people, they talk about, hey, how failures have helped them get better, right? It really resonates with them. And kids they're smart, they're absorbing everything. So I think that's something that I've exposed them to. The other thing I do, which is kind of weird in these matches, when I go in, I want to see a good match.
Right.
So when the other kid hits
a
a winner
shot
on my son, I love it. I actually make a bigger noise and like, great shot. But sometimes it is seen as negative for the kid itself, which is sad. Because the kid is not...
You mean for your kid or
not
for the other
the other kid.
Yeah,
the other kid...
But it's so good though, Juwan, because I used to do that too, and then sometimes the other parents would look at me like I was crazy.
Exactly.
And it's like, yeah, your kid's playing well, that makes my kid better.
Yeah.
Right? That's amazing. We're watching a great match. Is that why we're here? Right?
That's great that you have that same feeling. I felt like, am I doing something wrong? Because like a kid hits a great shot or fights for the ball and wins a point.
Yeah.
That is a great point. Great job. Right? And my kid is used to that now.
Good.
They know that when daddy comes to watch, he's going to support both sides. He's not, you know.
That is so healthy.
And so I think that setup, you know, I've appreciated because it's almost like you're a coach and you're coaching for all these kids. Of course, you want your kid to win.
Of course, you want your kid to win.
But it's not. That's not the most important thing.
That's right.
The most important thing is the progress, is the process, and then as you're running a business, it becomes more front and center as well. It's not about just winning that match. Yeah. That means nothing. It's about, hey, are you progressing day in and day out? Whether it's like playing 10 and under or 12 and under tennis, or you're running a executive meeting in the office, right, for your startup, or trying to acquire a new customer or support a customer. So it's the same journey, the same process. So to your point, when you brought up like, hey, you guys don't talk about talent or potential, it is important. You need to have talent, but you need the X factors that we talked about. And
they're multipliers.
Yeah, exactly. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
And I always think of it in the tech world, in our startups. I always think about 3 Ps you need to have. Number one is people. if you don't have the right people, which includes talent, which includes mindset, and you're right,
and character. Yeah.
right? And if you have someone who has same talent or better talent, but don't have the character and don't have the mindset, you're not bringing them on board. Yeah. And before, early in my career, I would bring them on board.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So this is different now. Like, hey, they don't have the right mindset. Like we just hired someone who may not on paper had all the right talent, but it was very clear they had the right mindset and the right character.
And you knew they would learn.
Yeah, and they learn, and they're doing great. Right. So you're thinking about people first. You need to have the right people, and then the second point is the pain point, the problem that you're solving. Is it worth solving? Is it big enough? And guess what? If you have the right people in your seat, even if the pain point's not that, they will identify the right pain point.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. So it trickles down, and then third is your product. In the tech world is actually the software, the product that you're building, but it could be anything. It could be a services product. It could be a tennis product.
Whatever your output is. Your output.
So so I think of it in those terms, and it keeps it simple, like you said. Like, hey, simplify this, and there's no secret sauce to achieve progress. But it's, hey, if you have the right people, they'll help you identify the right pain, and then you can build the right solution, the right product to solve that pain.
Yep.
And you keep getting better at those three things, and you keep progressing. So talent is critical, but it's really the people that you bring in, which includes not just talent, it's that mindset, the character, and all those X factors that we talked about.
No, I agree. I mean, I think, for our kids, it's always been very similar, process over outcome.
Yeah.
And I think it was the approach of these tournaments. And this is a bit far-fetched, but I told them the point of a tournament is not actually to win, which is almost antithetical of why you go, because why you keep score then.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like, hey, this is an opportunity for you to put all the things that you've learned, whether it's your forehand, you want to work on your approach, your serves, your return. It's a way for you to put this all together and then highlight it with pressure, which is the points, keeping the points.
Great.
And so it was really taking that approach. I don't think any of my kids listened, but it was the emphasis was, why do we do tournaments? And it's a way to showcase for yourself when there is pressure, what do you do? Can you execute the things that you've worked on? Clinic after clinic, lesson after lesson.
And like Coach was saying, like, hey, sometimes you are going to choke. You're going to go through that, where you're going to choke, and then eventually you'll break through that. And the more reps you get, the better muscle memory you have to eventually break through that.
Problem solving.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, so a question to you is: you talk about a process a lot.
I do.
You bring it up a lot, right? But did you start where did that whole process journey come to you? Was it from business, or from raising your kids, or from like going to these tennis tournaments and watching what's happening?
You're gonna laugh. So, Martin, you spoke with one of my daughter's coaches, Randy Becker.
Yes.
Credit goes to Randy, actually.
Really? Wow.
So when he first started teaching my oldest, he was so focused on process.
Yeah.
And I went to virtually every lesson with my daughter.
Yeah.
And I had never come across anyone who taught tennis the way that Randy taught tennis.
Yeah.
He went to Bollettieri's, very similar in terms of all the things that you've espoused today, Martin. I'd never heard anyone talk about tennis the way he approached the game.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, every time I am with my daughter for her 45-minute lesson, I feel like I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm getting a 2-for-1. I'm getting a 2-for-1. I literally am. And not just the technical aspects of how my game has evolved in the last, call it 5 to 7 years, but the mindset, the approach.
And you're translating that to business.
And I translated immediately. I was so wanting, we talk about go-to-market, when we talk about the sales, there's so much of an emphasis placed on how do we double from this year to next year.
Yeah.
Yet we don't focus on who are we hiring, what is our process, how do we build pipe, what kind of pipe are we building.
Is it the right type
These
of
are the
customers?
habits that we're, and the culture that we're driving to. And the thing is, when you apply pressure to a team, if that culture isn't
not
solid,
strong. Then it's going to
people
break.
start cheating.
Yes.
Yeah.
People start going after any customer, no matter if it's the ideal customer profile, the right ICP or not. Who cares if they churn next year? That's next year's problem.
Yeah, that's not my problem.
We need to hit this number.
I just need to hit this number.
Our head of sales said, we got to hit this number, we're going to hit the number.
That's the customer success issue.
And that's putting outcome over process.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I learned it through my daughter's
That's
coach.
hilarious. I didn't realize.
But then I applied it because I was like, gosh, there are so many analogies to this. And when I see startups fail, it was such a succinct way to bridge.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be tennis. It's the same in basketball, any sport.
Yeah.
But putting process over outcome.
Yeah.
You know, Steph Curry misses threes. He doesn't care. He'll keep shooting because he knows
he has a process.
He's got a process.
Part of it. Yeah.
And once it starts clicking, whether that's in the third or fourth quarter, you can't stop him.
Yeah.
And so to me, it just made sense for me. So no, it's not something I embodied, day one of venture.
Yeah.
It was
Wow, that's
something
amazing.
that came
I would
much
not
later.
have guessed that because you're always talking about process over outcome, which is spot on. And it's hard to, but it's hard. It's hard to execute that because like there's so much pressure. Every quarter you got to hit your numbers and all these different things.
Right.
Which is
and
also
there's
important.
And there's real consequences to not hitting those
but
numbers.
it's important.
Right?
You need to have that. Because that's the pressure. You want that pressure.
Yeah.
You don't want to not have that pressure. So you have that pressure, but you have to balance it with saying, hey, we've got to have the right process. Because to your point, if you don't start hitting the numbers, then you're gonna see a lot of cracks in the business, and it's not going to sustain, challenging times, or it's not going to sustain like a growth period. Like you said, you may have customers leaving after a year, and a handful of customers leaving, so there's holes in the business. It's a leaky bucket. So having the process, balancing the process over outcome is critical, but also care about the outcome. It's got to balance both.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think more often than not, the probability of a good outcome goes up when you have good process.
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely.
And then at that point, if you feel like you've got a solid process, let's say we're just talking about go-to-market, then we can start tweaking the other things. So let's look at marketing now.
Yeah.
Are we not getting enough top of funnel?
Yeah.
Are we not approaching the right ICP?
Yeah.
Are we not going after the right segment? Like there are other things that we can then optimize.
Yeah.
But that's why I've always believed in putting process. And so I saw it over and over again in the companies that I was involved in. Yeah. But there wasn't a natural, succinct way to talk about it until I heard it. Yeah. And then it was like a light bulb. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so what I've been seeing, and now this is a great way to articulate it.
Got it. So how do you communicate that to the founders of your portfolio companies? Some of the ways that you communicate it.
The number one thing I think I say is, even if it takes a little bit longer, even if we miss, investing in the process is prioritizing long-term sustainable growth over short-term
wins.
And what I've seen in my career so far is when you prioritize short over long, growth can often hide problems that are budding up. And so you're building some kind of debt, whether it's culture debt, tech debt, whatever debt, you're building some kind of debt.
Right.
And growth is a way to mask
a real
all that.
financial debt too.
Yeah.
Correct.
Wow, that's such a good way of looking at it. Yeah. Such a good way. It's like a false positive, right?
Exactly.
Like,
So on first glance, things look great. Oh, we're doubling. Yeah. We just brought on more people. We just raised more money. And then all of a sudden it goes, what happened? What happened? It's because we never built the foundation.
Right. Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've been part of companies that were just absolutely crushing it. Yeah. And it was hiding and sweeping under the rug a lot of the issues that just kept building and exacerbating. And the problem is, you never get to those things. You're like, I won't deal with it now. I'll get to it. I'll get to it next quarter.
We'll have 10 more people or 20 more people.
Never happens.
Never happens.
Yeah, it never happens.
But there's another line that Randy says. He's like, there's a whole line of people that want to get good at tennis, but the line is very short when you tell them how much work it's going to take.
Yeah.
And I've loved that. It's so true.
It's
so true.
It's true about everything.
Everyone wants to hit their numbers, but very few people are willing to put in the work because it takes so much time and a tremendous amount of effort to build good process. Yeah. Right? And so the same is true in many things in life, I feel like.
But when you're playing a team sport, it takes the whole team. And you can say tennis is a team sport now. at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean,
it is lonely when you're
can't-
alone.
Yeah, every great player, every top player has a team.
Yeah, because
4 to 6 people. Yeah,
but even like my 9-year-old's playing, I feel like, hey, I'm part of the team.
For sure.
Like, so you're but in business, it's not just one person or the CEO thinking about that. The whole team needs to be aligned, because you can see the difference when the whole team is aligned.
right. But the team does with something as important as the prioritization of long-term over short-term. The team looks to the leader.
100%.
The team looks to the leader.
In fact, we have this, we joke around, but but the mindset really is, and I own this, and I tell this to our team, is if we win, we win as a team. Mm-hmm. If we lose, it's on me, right? I mean it. I own it that way. That's the way I want to operate, right? Because when you're the CEO, yes, you've got a lot of trust put in you, and you've got the authority to make the moves you need to make to help the team win. So it's really like, hey, I can't win alone. I got to win with the team. But if I lose, it's on me. And we, of course, we think about that a lot as a company. Where we say, hey, of course, we lose as a team. The team thinks that way, and we win as a team. But of course, sometimes when you get too competitive, people always say, hey, you win alone, but you lose as a team. we have some jokes around it, but we think through those things.
That way, yeah. That's good.
Where we really look at, hey, we win and lose as a team. It's important to have that mindset. So now everyone's like kind of driving in the same direction.
Correct.
Juan, I found a quote
Yeah.
of yours. You said, if it's too easy, it's probably not worth it.
Yes.
Do you remember saying that?
Yeah.
And do you still believe that?
100%. Although sometimes I do wish it was a little bit easier. but I think, because I always, and I tell my kids this too, and I feel this, you can see when like greatness happens, and you've been around, you've done it, coach, and you've seen a lot of greatness. I always thought, why do these people cry? Right?
When they win?
When they win.
Yeah.
Because that the
They cry when they lose too, right?
They cry when they lose too.
But why do you cry when and sometimes my son asks me, why are they crying? They just won. Because you don't understand the pain and the suffering that they went through to get there, because they went through that struggle. If it was too easy, maybe they don't cry about it. But they went through all these ups and downs, the process, the journey, and when they win, there's tears in their eyes, because yes, they're happy, but they also probably think about all the things that they've gone through in their life to get to where they are. So I'm a firm believer in thinking, and you back a lot of unconventional founders, and I think about taking an unconventional route sometimes is harder. The easier route is, hey, go to the local school, you go to maybe a prep school, then you go to college 4 years, and then you get a job for a couple of years, then you go do MBA or you do this, but taking a different path. I mean, I think you went and lived for a year in Taiwan. You had your kids go to a local school, which is amazing.
Yeah, they hated it.
They hated it probably, but think about that's extremely hard for them. But now you're not making it too easy for them, and they're able to adapt to that situation, and that's going to pay dividends long term. So I'm a firm believer in that quote, which is, if it's too easy, it's not worth it. So if it's hard, then not many people would want to do it, and it puts you in a position to not just build for now, but build for long term.
I like what your coach said. He said you were disadvantaged enough to be successful.
Yeah.
So how does that translate down to your kids growing up in the Silicon Valley Bay Area, which is a massive bubble with wealth bleeding out everywhere?
Yeah.
How do you translate just being disadvantaged enough for Silicon Valley?
I know that's extremely hard. That's where we have the most battles at home, but that's why I send them away. Not that Belgrade is disadvantaged in any way, or Serbia is. It's a different world, different type of exposure, different lifestyle. So for them to just live in this bubble, I do believe is not helpful for healthy for long term. Yeah. So getting them exposure, and I'm fortunate that my wife is from Belgrade, Serbia. So they have a place there. Just so happens, it's all signals, and then signals are critical for me as part of my life as well. And even the gut feeling that you have, it's a great setup where where their grandma lives is literally backdoor to a tennis court and a fitness club.
Great.
So they spend, a lot of times, most of the summers there, almost 3 months, and that's a different type of exposure.
But they enjoy it though.
They enjoy it, but they also enjoy it without all the things that Silicon Valley has to offer. So, so
All
they
the
don't,
bells and whistles,
yeah, they don't have their own room, or, they're living in a,
So when you texted me the photo of you staying at the St. Regis in Belgrade.
Yes, they weren't there. They
that wasn't them. That was you,
that was
but not
me,
them.
But
Okay.
they just came to see, they'll come for a few hours.
Just asking.
They'll just come for a few hours to see me.
Yeah.
But they have to go back to,
Got it. Okay.
to their
Daddy
their
stays
base.
at the St. Regis. Got it.
Great role modeling, huh? Really good.
Because Martin talked about leaders being accountable earlier.
Thank you, Carey.
Just saying.
Yes.
But when they come, he doesn't do room service though.
Yeah.
He'll go all the way
Yeah.
down to the lobby and bring the food up. Yeah. So he makes
They
it.
don't, they don't get to eat there. They haven't learned it yet. Oh man, thank you, Carey. Thanks for bringing that up. But it is hard, So giving them that type of exposure, and it's not just exposure without like having all the nice things. It's like putting them in tough situations.
Yeah.
Right. So, so trying to figure out how can you put in tough situations, even situations where they may lose.
Yeah.
They may
and
cry.
not rescuing them.
Yeah, and letting them go through that
Yeah,
motion is something we're constantly thinking. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
No. It's not
but
I mean,
it-
Martin, you've traveled all over the
Yeah.
world. You've seen extreme wealth. You've seen extreme poverty. You've probably seen it all. How do you translate that for your kids?
It's not easy. It's not easy because they have, they've been comfortable. They've never had to really struggle. But I think for both me and my wife, we talk a lot. My wife really had some challenges in a good way that have made her such a strong and resilient person, and my parents did as well. I had some challenges, but nothing really to speak of. But we talked to them about the roots of what your mom had to go through, what her parents went through, what my parents went through.
The struggle.
What I saw on this last trip. Hey guys, I was on this last trip. I'm going to tell you about it. I was here in India, I was here in South America, I was here. And then I also make sure that they have interaction and experiences in places that are not like, whatever, Boca, Orlando, Palo Alto. I think that's really important. And having a service mentality. Mm-hmm. Really having a service mentality about if you can help somebody, you better help them. You better help them. But it's not easy though. It's not easy. How about you?
In fact, it's actually one of the reasons why I got them into sports. And it was a requirement. When we had kids, I told my wife, I said, hey, I want them all to play tennis. She's like, great, you do it. Like, okay. And I felt like, as we kind of talked about earlier, tennis is such a great analogy to life. You lose some points, you're up.
Right.
Yeah. You win some points, you're up. You lose some points, you're down. Right? What do you do when your opponent makes bad calls intentionally?
How do you deal with it?
How do you manage that?
Yeah, how do you deal with it?
I love the fact that you're not allowed to coach your kids at these tournaments.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because in so many situations in life, you got to figure it out.
You got to figure it out.
And you can't look back and go, well, hello, what would you do?
Yeah.
I can't help you.
Absolutely. And there's such a big push, and it's fine if somebody doesn't agree with me because, we're all entitled to our opinions. But there's such a big push now for parents to be able to coach in junior tournaments and coaches to be able to coach. And I just think that's such
Like what, on the
mistake.
court, like from the
on the
sidelines?
court, do the match. And I think that would be a massive mistake.
Yeah.
If there's a
massive
referee there on the court, that's different. But not having the parents sit there.
No, you
and-
don't. But because it takes away the essence of the game.
Yeah.
It's a problem-solving game.
Well, they allow
It's
coaching
me
now
against
at
you.
the pro level, right?
They allow coaching at the pro level. I don't agree with that either.
Oh, interesting.
No, I don't agree with that. But I'm sure that they will be able to leverage it for fan interest and make it interesting. But the essence of the sport is I'm playing you. And we're on the court alone. And it doesn't matter how rich I am or how poor I am or you. We're on the court, and it's a meritocracy.
Yeah.
And when we shake hands, we know that, hey, the outcome was what it was, and if I work harder, next time I can beat you, and vice versa. But that's the beauty of sport, and I think we have to really be careful not to erode that. The other thing that I love, you're so smart in putting your kids in sports to, well, all of us, we have to teach resilience and so on.
Yeah.
Is you learn that wealth and privilege don't dictate that sport outcome.
Yeah.
And I got a great story. So I remember when I was at JTCC, the program that I'm going to in a couple weeks, and I was there 15 years ago. And one of the beautiful things about JTCC is such a melting pot. You know, the scholarship, financial aid mechanism allows for every kid to be in the program. You're never going to walk away from a program that you should be in because you don't have enough money. And I remember once, it was a junior clinic, like a 12 and under clinic, and one of our wealthiest families was there, the mom was there, and one of the most economically disadvantaged kids was in the program. And they just so happened, the mom came at the end of the session and they were finishing up a set, and the disadvantaged young man beat her son pretty badly, like 6-1 or 6-love. And the disadvantaged young man, who I knew really well, was wearing mismatched socks, no name brand stuff, one racket. And she goes, "How can he beat my son?" And I said, "Because he's better than your son." And I said, "But the good news is if your son keeps practicing, he can beat him next time." And I thought her head was going to explode. But after a couple months, two things happened. Is she started to believe in the program because she knew how much she had pampered her son and sheltered him. And number two is her son became best friends with that young man.
Wow.
So that's what sports does.
I totally agree. I feel like for a lot of public schools, even private schools, you just hang out with people in the same socioeconomic bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't get to hang out with folks from the other side
Yep.
of the tracks, if you will.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, I've always felt like, especially on a team sport, whether it's doubles or basketball or football, it doesn't matter what the sport is,
Yeah.
you're going to come across people on your team that maybe you don't like. And I'm sure at Zingtree, there are people there that you may not love.
Yeah.
But you have a mission, there's a common goal, and you guys have to succeed as a team.
Yeah.
And you're going to find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
And I think sports especially forces you to do that,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And there are rules,
Yeah.
just like in
Yeah.
real life. There are rules.
Yeah.
And everyone has to follow and abide by the same rules. But within those rules, you can still do a lot. Creativity, like how you play, what patterns you play, what, you know, different passes you do, all these things, right? And so I just thought that sport was a phenomenal platform to teach goal setting, to, you know, work hard, you know, teach grit, resiliency, and to really kind of elevate yourself from kind of whatever socioeconomic bubble you happen to be in.
Absolutely. And also the connectivity, right, is all those divisions, right? All those divisions in our society, race, wealth, gender,
Yep.
Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, all those divisions fall away when you're on a team with somebody and you got to give your best for them and they got to give your best for you.
You're fighting for a common goal.
And we're so blessed in this country to have sport. To me, there's three things that do that. There's sport, there's music and performance in the arts, and there's armed service. Armed service probably is at the top because you're talking about life and death.
Yep.
But we're so fortunate that on a team, because of the way the sports culture is, black and white, man and woman, whatever religion, that you can still have this. You know, I look back on my career in tennis, and I had friends who were South African, you know, And that was just like maybe 5-10 years after apartheid.
Oh.
And as long as they weren't crazy with what they were saying about, you know, whatever, people of color, you treat me with respect, I treat you with respect, we're good, man.
Yeah.
And because we know that this is a meritocracy. Doesn't matter if you're born on third base, it doesn't help you in sports.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's a really powerful thing. That's a really positive force in this country, and we got to really hold on to it for our youth culture.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Sports is an equalizer.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really is. And that's one of the things in America. Sports is a big part of your life.
Yeah.
So I love that. And then, of course, you know, the underdog story is very much, you know, appreciated here. So there's a lot of things.
And bringing people together, you know, like two quick examples. So you see Magic and Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Right? Larry Bird, rural Indiana, Magic. Just so you can, every different thing on the surface, right? These guys are tight, man.
Yeah.
These guys are tight.
And they weren't even teammates, they were competitors.
Exactly.
But they respected each other because of how great.
These guys love each other.
Yeah.
You know, 3 weeks ago I was at the induction ceremony in Newport, watched Mike and Bob, two of my favorite champions,
Tennis Hall of Fame.
got inducted at the International Tennis Hall of Fame. But to hear Serena introduce Sharapova,
Maria Sharapova,
when
yeah.
Sharapova's,
Right.
that's beautiful.
I know.
That's what it's about, right? So I think that's something we really got to protect.
But you know, I experience sports in a very different way. And as much as I appreciate how sports is, you know, set up in America, and but bringing a country together, I've never seen anything like this. When I was on a business trip in Madrid last year, where they won Spain won the, I don't follow European football much, but I think it was their...
Was it UEFA Cup or Champions League or something?
But one of their, you know,
one of the big soccer,
big soccer events that they have.
Yeah.
And Spain beat England in the finals. And we were flying from London to Madrid. The game was going on the flight. We land in Madrid, and I'm going to the airport. It's so quiet because everyone's sitting on their TV on the airport watching the game. And like when they score, it's crazy. It's like, what the hell's going on? Like, you know, like horns outside, everything. So we end up staying in the airport, finishing the game. Spain wins. We go out. It is insane.
It's just a party,
right?
huh?
A party, but we got in at like 11 p.m., right? And we hadn't had dinner. We were hungry. We were trying to get food. Everything is open. We were up till 2 a.m. because we didn't want to leave because we've never experienced something like this. We were walking around town, and it just felt like, wow, like this whole country is together now. And they kind of do this on a regular basis. So I felt like at that point, I was like, man, I wish there was something like this in America with everything that's going on. Where, yes, we have that once every 4 years with the Olympics.
Right, yeah.
But, you know, it felt like these guys are doing it on a regular cadence, much, you know, shorter than a 4-year period. And it was even I was an outsider. I was like, I had joy. I felt like it was cool. Like, wow, like how much they were all excited about Spain winning and how the whole country was in it together. It was pretty remarkable to see that. I haven't experienced that in America, like where it's like the whole country is like so proud and like just like, you know, and sports brings that in you. But I don't know if you've had that experience in sports where, you know, I know we've got the NFL, but it's all just the U.S. based, right? Or the NBA is also U.S. based. But I guess the only thing is really the Olympics, where it's, you know, but that's once every 4 years. But that was pretty cool to see, where the whole country, you could feel it, you could sense it. They were all together that one night
really cool.
to celebrate that victory. And I felt like, hey, sports can do that. You know, bring everyone together. It doesn't matter what your, you know, who you are, where you come from, what your background is.
Like, yeah.
But that for one day, you're all together and celebrating.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. All right, we're gonna. I've kept you guys, and you guys have been so good about it. I have this rapid fire session for you guys. I think you guys will enjoy this. Before the Taco Bell.
There you go.
Well, I'll go through all of them with Martin, and then we'll go through it all of you. So you'll get a. Actually, let's do one-on-one, so you don't get. I don't want you to think.
You don't want
That's why I never gave you guys the questions before, because it's like I just want it more natural. You know, like let it flow. All right, so Martin, you'll start first. Best match you ever played or coached?
Best match I ever played. I played a match. I'll go 2 matches. I played a match against a guy called Guillermo Perez Roldan in the first round of the U.S. Open Juniors in 1986. He was ranked 80 in the world, and I was a good junior. And I think I beat him 2-2.
Wow.
And just lights out the whole tournament. Got to the semis that year. I'll never forget that match. And then I played a really good match. I would have to say that match against Steek that I lost.
Oh, wow.
You know? Yeah.
Okay.
That was it. And the best match I've coached, gosh, I don't know if I'm a good enough coach to be able to say that yet. I gotta get better. How about you?
Best match I played, I had some time to think about it, is a guy that, it was actually a high school match. It was pretty cool.
High school, wow.
High school match where I got to play a guy who was top 10 in the country, Demisa Robinson. He went to Bullis, played for Jack Shore in the DC area. He was top 10 in the country, very athletic, twice my size, big kid. And I just came out there and played phenomenal. I was, following the process. I was doing everything.
That's a big win. He was a good player.
Yeah, and I beat him straight sets. And it wasn't like, hey, he didn't play well. Like, I played really well. And that's when I believed, like, hey, I can do this. I just beat a guy who was top 10 in the country. And that was phenomenal. Like, it was back then. It was like harder to play some of the national tournaments because back then I wasn't an American citizen yet.
Oh yeah. That's
so when
right.
you're I still had my Indian citizenship at that time. You weren't able to qualify for some of the nationals, so I didn't get a chance to play some of the top players in a tournament setting. So the closest I got to was, hey, when our high school played against Bullis, Georgetown Prep, and I got to play Demisa. So I was also fired up. Maybe he wasn't that fired up. He's like, man, I'm doing this high school thing on the side.
Yeah.
But he played well, and I felt like
he definitely didn't want to lose to you, that's for sure.
And I stepped up, and so that was a good feeling.
Wow. Okay. All right, we're going to start with you, so that Martin gets a chance. Favorite drill that you think preps you best for a tournament? Best tennis drill.
Favorite drill, consistency drill. Like hitting a ball 100 times without missing. And I only bring that up now because I actually do it with my 5-year-old son. And it's crazy, like he's 5, I told you this.
Yeah.
Do we need to call social services?
Well, it's hard because he wants to do it. And at 5 years old, he made a record of 314 balls in a row without missing.
Wow.
But for me, it was hard to do it on the red ball. And I missed like 3 or 4 times because it takes energy. It takes, even though it's easy. And I was like, oh, this is easy to do because I had to stay focused for those 8 minutes. It was an 8-minute long rally.
Wow.
And I went through this, so it reminds me, the reason I bring that up is because it reminded me and it made me think wow, it was an 8-minute rally. I missed like 4 times. This kid didn't miss. He was into it. I was also into it, but I was taking it easy because I thought it was like a red ball is easy to do. But even when it's easy, you got to stay focused. You got to move your feet. You got to get there. So when you're doing a consistency drill, right, where you're making, hey, I got to make 50 balls in a row cross court. I got to make 100 balls in a row down the middle. Yes, you can hit a big forehand, big backhand, but consistently making it 100 times in a row, 50 times in a row with certain sides of the court and stuff like that, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of focus, a lot of discipline, a lot of mental strength.
It's like that 10,000 hours in the tipping point, right?
So I think it just reminded me. It's interesting you brought this question today again, like based on some of the recent rallies I've been having with my 5-year-old son, where he loves doing this drill. And I'm just like, man, this is hard, but it's actually very helpful to be able to consistently do it for 100 times, 50 times, or 200 times, or whatever. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of discipline to do that.
Martin?
We have a drill that we used. It's our foundational drill in player development. We learned it from Jose Higueras. It's called the X drill.
X drill.
And it's very, very simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And you just really work on your diagonal movement. You can go as steep or as wide as you want. And you're going backwards for a deep forehand. You're coming in for a short backhand. You're going back for a deep backhand. You're going up for a short forehand. And it teaches you how to take the right line to the ball. So basically you're combining the 3 components of tennis, which are the eyes and the mind, How do you recognize the ball? How do you recognize the ball coming off your racket, the effect that it has on your opponent? How do you recognize the ball coming off your opponent's strings? So that's number one. Number two is how do you move your feet into position and take the right stance? And then number three is how do you execute with the right technique? And it just pulls everything together, and you've got to be fully engaged to do that drill properly.
And are you feeding? Is someone feeding?
You can
ball,
do. You can either hand feed it,
Yeah.
or you can racket feed it.
I can feed it.
And how many balls
Yeah.
do you get?
Typically, you go 8 to 16. The younger the player, it's a very physical drill.
It is.
So the younger the player, the less you go. With a pro, you can go 16 balls, but it is physical. And the thing I love about it is all three elements. So I get back, I get in position behind the ball. Okay, that's number one. Number two is when I'm going back, am I making the high percentage shot selection? So when I go back, my shot choices are much different than when I move forward.
Right.
When I get back,
Take more risk.
Exactly. When I go back, I'm going to hit the ball with a lot more shape, higher over the net. My target's going to be middle or cross. When I come forward, I'm going to have a chance to go big line or short angle, depending on the height of the ball. So if you can do that X drill properly, you can play tennis.
Wow, that's powerful.
All right. Martin, a book you give to players or recommend your players to read?
There are a few I used to give to them. One is a book by Bach called Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and it's basically just about overachievement, pursuit of excellence. I have given them a book called Team of Teams by General Stanley McChrystal, and it's about how you create a culture that's self-policing, you give autonomy to the people closest to the action, and you empower them to make decisions in real time. And I would say thirdly is not a book, but that documentary I mentioned, In Search of Greatness. Yeah, it's a gem. Yeah.
Great. So for me, the two books that stand out for me is The Alchemist. And it was interesting because it was the first book I read in America when I got here at school. It was a reading book, and it just resonated with me coming to the U.S. and I had it, tied to it. But it kind of talked about a little bit about the process when I look back, right? And about the journey that you're on is if you keep doing the right things over and over again, things will work out eventually. Yep. And so I appreciate that book. And you may go through ups and downs in that journey, but it's almost like kind of says the world revolves around your journey in some way to help you, as you go through this journey.
Right.
That's a book I still appreciate. And then the other one, and I love inspirational stories, is Shoe Dog.
Oh.
Right, the
Great book.
It's amazing. Like it was actually funny today. I felt like I had a little bit of a Shoe Dog moment. We just bought some Zingtree swag. So I've got in my trunk some Zingtree hoodies and shirts and backpacks, and I was giving to some of my teammates who I saw today, like out of the car. So it almost looked like I was selling out of the trunk. Like, hey, you gotta take the shoe.
Yeah. But it's so funny you say that because yesterday I got to visit the Nike campus.
Yeah.
And one of their exhibits is like it shows like the back of the van.
Yeah.
The way they started.
It's amazing.
It's like filled with Nike sneakers.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So that book is phenomenal because Nike could not it
Full
had
night, yeah.
Yeah, but it could have gone through. It couldn't have been Nike.
Yeah.
But it just so many things worked out because he didn't give up, because they kept fighting. That he went to Japan. He went tried all these different things.
Got it.
And it just led to one thing to another, and it even like it was almost like it was meant to be, even though it wasn't clear. Like even coming up with the logo, Just Do It, signing up Michael Jordan, like all these things happened because they kept, had that pursuit of excellence, and they had that mentality and that process and the journey from inception till now. So I love that book. Yeah.
Despite the fact that you wear Hokas. I'm not like
I mean I wear Hokas because it's more comfortable on my feet.
I thought it was because the soles were thicker.
Yeah, I mean I can use a few inches, Carey. Yeah.
All right, last question before we head out to dinner. One belief, this is for Juan, one belief you've changed your mind about in the last 3 years.
Last 3 years, so I would say, 3 years in that time frame.
Yeah.
I would say, which is hard for me to do, is don't try too hard. Right? Because sometimes I feel like I push way too hard to want something, and that's just my natural instinct and my, style. And sometimes when I take just a step back and let it be, which is hard for me to do, sometimes things do work out. So, because I really get into it, and I want something, and I'm not going to stop till I get it. And so I'm like, okay, if I have to be up 24 hours, I'll do it, whatever it takes. But sometimes it's like, no, don't overdo it. Just let it be.
Right.
And I've had a lot of good people, including you, like, hey, take care of yourself. Like your body, all these things are important. So I think that's an area where I think I've given in to hey, don't be on it like crazy. Step back and things will work out, and I've seen that happen. So yeah, which is not easy to do for me, so against my style, but I'm working on it. Yeah.
It's easier for some other people, I think.
Yeah, because I feel like, hey, I can control it. I can make something happen. So it's for me.
No, you're definitely wired that way. So that's
just
good. Yeah, that's really
take a step back, let it be. Whatever the worst happens, it happens. But then a lot of times the outcome ends up being even better than I expected.
Mark?
Yeah. For most of my life, I've had a people pleaser instinct. Kind of wanting to please, wanting everybody to like me. I'm cured. and not from one particular thing, but from a series of things. And I'm so grateful for it because it's so liberating. I think that people pleasing leads to mediocrity. Because the more you say yes to things that aren't really important, the less your yes means. And I think the thing that really helped, the thing that really kind of set that in motion is when my dad passed away about 4 years ago. It just kind of everything crystallizes in terms of you're like, okay, what's important? What's really important? And I just, because life is finite, right? Life is finite. I don't believe, but I do believe that life is eternal. So I have a strong faith. And when I look in the scriptures, Jesus was not a people pleaser.
Right.
He loved like no one ever loved.
He lit people up.
But he lit them up. I don't light people up and I'm not Jesus.
Yeah. It's not your style.
And it's not my style. But what I have learned that's really helped me and kind of liberated me is that as long as I'm doing the right thing the right way and respecting people, I don't really care whether people like me or not.
Yeah.
So it's been great. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
I feel like as I entered my 40s, that's something that magically happened. And I've talked to a number of my friends who have hit their 40s who've said that as well. I think what happens is you become very comfortable in who you are and your own skin.
Yes.
And at some point you probably have some close friends,
Mm-hmm.
you've got a family that loves you. And
Right.
You're kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to be me. And this is how I show up, this is how I am.
Yeah.
And some people will like you, and some people are just inevitably going to be haters.
Yeah. And you can't control it. You can't control it.
Exactly.
And I'll go one step further is that when I made that decision, or when that shift happened, 4 years ago, I was also able to disengage from people who were negative and toxic in my life. Yeah. And that was so liberating as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
people who really fill you up.
Those
are the people you want.
Exactly. Those are people you want. People that are cheering for you. Yeah. People that when you fail, who calls you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Who calls you? When you're down, who calls you?
Yep.
Yeah.
So prior to Conductive Ventures, I had founded a firm called Luma Capital Partners.
Okay.
That ultimately did not work out.
Got it.
And it was actually my co-founder, Paul, who saw me in the depths, also one of my former roommates,
Okay.
actually, who saw me in the depths of my depression. It was like the first time in my professional career that something just literally did not work out.
Yeah.
And Paul, being Paul, who you know really well, goes, hey, why don't you come over to Kleiner Perkins and I can offer you a free lunch because we have free lunch every day.
I love you, Paul. That's great.
Free lunch too. Thanks, Paul.
You probably showed up because we know how we like free lunch.
On brand
Yeah.
for Paul, hooking me up with free lunch in the depths of my depression.
How long ago was that?
That was 2016.
2016.
Yeah.
And how many people that you thought would reach out to you didn't?
I don't think a lot of people knew.
Didn't know. Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, I wouldn't follow.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's not something that I was broadcasting.
Right. Right.
I think, but I think you know who your true, people are.
Yeah. You do.
When things aren't going well.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to be grateful. Well, I say that, and then there are people who hate and are jealous when you're doing well.
That's true. And those are the ones you
Yeah,
can't
watch
can't let them into your circle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're toxic.
But especially when things are down and out, like you said, the people who text, the people who call, people who look out for you. Like I have a list of folks that were in my corner
Great.
when things didn't work out, and yeah, those are the people that are going to be there, whether you're doing well or you're not. They're just there because of you.
Absolutely. And for me, the two big indicators are what we're talking about now. When you're down, when something goes wrong, you fail. Okay, they're there. But then the other one is when you're doing really well, and maybe you're getting prideful. Maybe your ego's getting out of control. Maybe your head's getting too big. The people who are like, "Hey, listen, man."
You don't think your wife does that for you? Like just
100%. 100%.
cut you in
My
half?
wife does, and then you guys do. That's why I have you guys around.
Oh yeah, she's always there for me in that respect. But I think that's so important too.
Yes,
Yeah.
you need to have that and check at home. Yeah, I mean that's 100%. I mean, I'm curious to see what you did in the last 3 years. The same question you asked us, right? In the last 3 years, what did you?
Yeah. What?
change?
Yeah. A change in belief.
I think I had heard growing up for a long time that
You can never be a tennis player, but then you took out a few D1 players in this room. I mean, at least I was.
Carey's got game. Carey's got game.
Tier 3 D1, but this is Tier 1 D1.
I think there's this line, and I think I finally found out that this line was attributed to Mark Twain. But this thing that people say is like, the more that things change, the more they stay the same. And Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes.
Yeah.
So,
I like that.
and so I think as growing up as a kid, I was just like, what are you talking about? History is always new. Like you're always making new history.
Yeah.
Right? Like you always hear, this is the first time in history that the world,
Right. Yeah.
AI, internet,
Right.
whatever, first time.
Right.
Cloud on-prem.
Whatever, right? So, coming from Silicon Valley, I'm like, that's not true. I mean, it's just, what are you talking about? We're always making history.
Yeah.
But I do see that for lots of things, like when I think about the way that I'm raising our kids or the perspectives that I have, like they're often very similar to like how I was raised or like some of the philosophies that my parents had. And so I feel like a lot of this is passed down, like tribal knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Like how, I love the fact that, Martin, you shared about kind of your story and then how it was impressed upon Juan, and Juan's now taking those and impressing upon his team.
Yeah, that is really
Like a lot of
cool.
these
That is really
things
cool.
Are
Yeah.
repeated in many respects.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that's probably changed my mind, is to have, I do think that Mark Twain's line is actually very true, that, history may not repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes.
Absolutely. There's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I'll add to that is, when I look at my coaching style, even from when I just started at AU and didn't know much at all, is I can look back to my coaches, and it came, in particular, a lot of it came from Coach Patton, my Junior Davis Cup coach. So that was the first time a coach ever emphasized character more than performance or results. That was the first time a coach ever told me that he loved me. That was the first time that a coach ever talked to me more about my character than my forehand or backhand. And so yeah, and I don't even know if Coach Patton understands the ripple effect he had, because he coached hundreds of us. He was in that role for 12, 15 years.
The impact that you can make is huge, right?
It's huge.
I mean, that's a good analogy. Like, hey, you taught me so many great things, and I'm, using that for myself and my people that I'm associated with, and and that spreads.
Yeah.
I just think the impact of a teacher, a coach, a mentor is so incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I can see that impact. You talk about these great champions, I think, and yourselves included.
Well, not me,
people.
Martin.
Not me.
Yeah. You can be real.
I do feel like we can all point to people in our lives, when I say a good coach, a good mentor, that you immediately can attach a name to.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so critically important for our lives, for our kids' lives. But there's always that one person that you'll look back to and say, gosh, maybe not at the point in time that person
you may not have realized it at that time. Yeah.
But 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, you could look back and go, wow, that person was incredibly consequential in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people make a huge difference.
100%. Something that AI will not solve in the near term.
Yeah, it's exciting times. There's a lot going on, but people are still, behind creating AI.
Yes, that is true. That is 100% true. Well, hey guys, this has been.
This is awesome. This
is very special for me, because I get to be with my coach, who made a big impact in my life, and Carey, you've been a great supporter.
A big thanks to both Juan Jaysingh and Martin Blackman for joining me today. What I love about conversations like this is the way tennis becomes more than just a sport. It's a training ground for life. For Juan, it was the foundation to becoming a CEO. For Martin, it's been about developing systems and pathways that help people achieve their fullest potential. As founders and leaders, there's a lesson here. Success doesn't come from shortcuts. It comes from reps, resilience, and the ability to reset after setbacks. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a fellow founder, coach, or tennis fan who'd get value out of it. You can find more episodes of Conductive Conversations wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Carey Lai, and until next time, remember, the grind on the court isn't so different from the grind in the startup world. Stay disciplined, stay unconventional, and keep playing the long game.